Hey nerds, what's up? Today I wanted to talk about a couple books that I read recently that I feel a lot of people have been wanting me to read on the channel, so I wanted to pop in with a couple of quick reviews. The first being Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman, and the second one being Murderbot by Martha Wells. So we're gonna get to those quick reviews after the jump. So let's start with Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. So I actually read this book because I interviewed Matt recently. You might have saw that video a couple weeks ago. Django Wexler reached out to me about his new book and asked if I'd be interested in reading that and interviewing him and potentially also interviewing Matt with him. And as I had been actually interested in reading Dungeon Crawler Carl for a while, I was like, of course. I had heard of DCC, that's how I'm gonna say it from now on, because Dungeon Crawler Carl is the worst tongue twister. So it's Carl, or DCC. It had been on my radar for a while because it was doing so well in the indie sphere. Like, everyone knew about it. It was really popular and really well liked. And I was aware of it, but I was a little wary of reading it because I knew it was lit RPG, which I hadn't really enjoyed that genre a ton in the past. And I don't know, just didn't necessarily sound exactly like my thing. And so I was just so happily surprised by how much I enjoyed Dungeon Crawler Carl. I ended up giving a 4 out of 5 stars. It was just such a fun read and so well done and just legitimately funny, and also just made me really understand lit RPG a little better as a genre. I think some of the lit RPG I had read in the past took some of the elements so seriously that it was hard for me to get into the cheesier elements of lit RPG, because I think it's kind of a hard thing to balance. And I'm not saying other people don't do it well. I'm just saying the ones that I had read personally didn't hit that balance for me. And I think Dungeon Crawler Carl just hits the perfect balance of absolutely not taking itself seriously, but having a good enough plot and character development to support that. And so it's just such a fine line. In case you haven't heard of it, DCC is a story about a guy and his cat who get put into an alien dungeon where they have to survive Hunger Game-esque style because there are viewers watching and they can get patrons to help them get better loot. And it is, you find out why this alien planet has taken over Earth. And, simple premise, but just executed very, very well. Admittedly, the humor was a little crass for me at times. I'm not a crass humor person, so there was definitely times where the humor was a lot for me and was pretty crass. But outside those moments, I did find Dinniman to be legitimately funny. I felt one of the reasons DCC works so well is that he has this very silly premise that does a lot of references to lit RPGs and video games, but he knows just how much reference to put in, so you can spot some of the inspirations if you've played those games, but do not need the inspirations at all to understand the story. And I think that is a very good line that he walks, because the story makes sense no matter what, but if you have played lit RPGs or video games, like, you're gonna see nods to stuff that happens and it's gonna make it maybe a little extra funny, but I think you wouldn't need those to make sense of the story. I also think he does a smart thing about using classic tropes. So, our main character is that kind of ex-military guy who is kind of grumpy about everything. And so you can kind of immediately get a hold on who Carl is as a character, which also helps you connect to him very quickly in a pretty silly and outrageous environment. And I think that really benefits the story. So yeah, I also really surprised myself in that I'm gonna read book 2. I wanna know what happens, so I'm gonna continue with the series. I did actually end up listening to this on audiobook, which you guys know I'm not an audiobook person, but it had been highly recommended to me to do it by audiobook, and I have to say I quite enjoyed the audiobook. I thought the narrator did a very funny job and really brought a lot of the characters and elements to life. So if you are already an audiobook reader, I would say this is a good audiobook to do. Anyway, I want to talk about this because I think a lot of my viewers would enjoy this kind of book. If you like humorous, lighthearted things that have gaming inspirations, I think you would really enjoy this. So if you've been kind of looking at it, I would say give it a go. And it actually, the first book, I actually don't know if it's supposed to, I think it's just the first book, because Matt said that his later books are still self-published. His first book got picked up. I can't remember by which publisher. It'll be here. And so it's actually getting a new cover, I think sometime in August. So I like the original covers. They're very silly. I also really love the new cover. I think it looks really cool. I'll probably buy it for my shelf, to be honest. I think it's a cool look. But yeah, so check it out. So then next, of course, I want to talk about Murderbot by Martha Wells. I just feel like everyone has read Murderbot except me. I don't know what took me so long to read it. It's not like it's very long. And I think the 5th installment in the series won a Hugo recently. But anyway, what a charming little novella. I, of course, liked it. Another 4 out of 5 for me. I wouldn't say the story was anything that was so interesting or so novel or new, but obviously the character of Murderbot totally stole my heart. What a great character. I was in stitches about the way that Murderbot describes having social anxiety. Someone who gets very anxious in social situations, the way Murderbot's inner monologue worked was just so funny. Like, all right, she said, and looked at me for what objectively I knew was 2.4 seconds and subjectively about 20 excruciating minutes. We've all been there, you know? For some reason, just the way they talked was so funny. I was very into it. So I'm definitely going to continue the Murderbot series. Once again, I don't have a ton to say about the story itself. I felt like it was pretty straightforward. I do like the exploration always of emotion, what is human, what is machine. I think that's a very common thing in a lot of short stories that I read. And I did like this more humorous take on that. So if you haven't read Murderbot yet, you haven't picked it up, full disclosure, the reason I didn't have this at the very beginning is because I can't find anything on my new shelves anymore because it used to have a certain order and now it's a different order and I have to relearn it, but I did take the time to go find it so I could read that quote. So here we are. If you're the only other person on earth who hasn't read Murderbot, I do recommend it. Super short, highly enjoyed it. I plan to keep reading the series. I have heard as the series goes on, the plots get like more interesting and complicated. A lot of people said that, like, yeah, the plot doesn't really do much in the first one, but it continues to grow. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, I hope you enjoyed these 2 really quick reviews. I feel like I haven't just done some new book reviews on my channel in a while, and I do like to give you guys recommendations. So let me know if you've read either of these in the comments or if I've convinced you to pick up either of them. They're both pretty fast, short reads, so I feel like they're really good summer reads for that reason when maybe you don't have as much time or you're just kind of looking for something lighter. As always, if you like these kind of videos, please like and subscribe. That is the best way to support me. And if you want to see what I'm currently reading as well as other nerdy rants, you can check me out on Instagram at bookborn.reviews. I'll see you next time. Bye.